Hello gamers from around the world, this is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to this week's episode of The World of Gaming, the #1 podcast where we discuss everything that happens in gaming. We talk about news, games, technology, and today, Dutch, we have a very, Nintendo-focused podcast ahead because it's Nintendo Week. The big Switch 2 reveal happened yesterday. Lots to talk about there, but we'll also cover and talk about the Xbox Asus handheld tease. So we have a very handheld focused episode basically, and a bunch of other news. It's gonna be a great show. But first, I would like to welcome our awesome community. A couple of familiar names already in the chat. And of course, a big welcome to you if you listen after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you're listening. A big welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. And Dutch, how are you doing today, my man?
Yeah, I'm good. Just been been busy with work, unfortunately.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the weekend and a couple of extended weekends in the following weeks ahead with bank holiday weekends and things. So
yeah. Sweet. And I see you came prepared wearing a Super Nintendo shirt.
Indeed. Yeah, I think they missed a trick not calling it the Super Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have been the name. Everyone would have loved that. And still a bunch of super exciting news to talk about. We didn't really talk up front. What are your thoughts on the Switch? So I'm very much looking forward to that. But of course, we would also like to hear everyone's thoughts in the chat. But before we dive into the Switch topic and the Nintendo topics, Dutch, we always start this podcast with the most important thing in gaming. And that are the games we are playing, the games we are enjoying. So, guys, in the chat, let us know, what are you currently playing? And of course, if you do listen after the fact, let us know in the comments. Dutch, what kept you busy?
To be brutally honest, because of work, I haven't really had a chance to game. And not only that, but obviously being a Newcastle United supporter, the weekend just gone, we celebrated our first trophy in 7 decades. So there was like 300,000 people in the city centre celebrating that.
Yeah, I've seen some of the videos you posted.
I was there obviously celebrating that. And then, of course, watched the football yesterday. But other than that, I tried to play Atomfall, but being brutally honest, it has a lot of bugs. It's only just got a patch today. I booted the game up, got to the first area where the first kind of NPC enemy is. You go to punch him and it automatically crashed the dashboard. Reloaded the game, went through the same bit, tried to punch the NPC again, crashed the dashboard, did the same thing again, crashed the dashboard. I was like, yep, I'm going to give this a miss. So I just walked around the enemy, went through the exit, went outside, saved the game, and left it. I thought, if it's that buggy, the moment I start the game, I'll just leave it until it's had a patch. It's had a 4 gig patch today, so hopefully that's ironed out a lot of the
I've seen that about 100 hot fixes or something like that was announced. So let's hope that that resolves the most important issues. I haven't started it yet. I've downloaded it yet, but didn't have the chance to play it.
And I'm much the same on South of Midnight because it was available as of 2 hours ago. I got in from work. I went to press play. Day 1 patch. Not only was it a regular day 1 patch, it was a 40 gig full install kind of patch again.
Really?
So yeah, and the download was super slow. Like usually for me, downloads are like anywhere up to 600-700 meg, and it was going at 70 meg. So it took an hour and a half, and by the time it finished, of course, it was like 20 minutes ago. So I haven't actually started playing South of Midnight yet, but I've got it ready to play it after the show. My original intention was to play it for an hour and then tell all you fine folks what it's like. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to, thanks to the update. So
I know that feeling all too well, man. It's a blessing in disguise to have these constant updates. But yeah, I was recently playing Assassin's Creed Shadows and just had like 30 minutes or so. Just wanted to jump in, do 1 or 2 assassinations, and then like 25 gigs of download. Yeah, okay.
One of the ones I used to hate the most was when Microsoft pushed down like a system update in the middle of your game, and it forced you to do it.
Yeah,
like bink in the middle of your game. You're like, no, what are you doing?
To this day, I don't know why this isn't available on Xbox, that you can download those updates in the background and then install it, but it actually forces you to get either out of any game if it's a system update, or to get out of that game if the game gets an update. Why not just download it in the background, let you play the game for a bit without the update, and once it's downloaded, just apply it? That's something we'll never figure out, why that isn't a thing, right? Yeah. So let us see what the community has been playing, man. Stormplayer. The X is already playing South of Midnight. Awesome. And of course, his daily Call of Duty multiplayer routine. Let us know in the chat, how do you like South of Midnight so far? This time I have not invested in the early access thing. I usually get the early access only if there is some content attached to it, but I'm not willing to pay for like only the early access. And since there wasn't any DLC or something included, I didn't opt in. And I also do have a lot of other things to play at the moment, so I can wait till Tuesday and then play it on Tuesday.
You were very lucky there, by the way, because my internet literally briefly turned off for 10 seconds and turned back on. So people on screen, if you were watching, I had my eyelids closed for a while there. I'd fallen asleep.
I noticed. I was just not sure if it's me again, because last show, remember, I had the issues.
The internet symbol went off and it just went to that planet symbol. I was like, oh, God.
Glad you're back, man. Glad you're back.
Yeah. Don't know what's going on there.
Mr. Glass is playing Atomfall. Awesome. Let us know, how do you like it, man? Andrew Kuliani is still on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Sweet. The Big Bridge is playing The Walking Dead Season 1. Oh, going old school there. Yeah. Pyro is now installing South of Midnight. Sweet. Siki is not playing anything right now, and he's burned out. Yeah.
I get like that. Like, my burnout game is Minecraft. If I'm just tired and I want to do mindless stuff, just put Minecraft on.
For me, it's The Witcher. It's just, world.
That's what I've done. Literally, the only times I've played anything this week was just mining some bits in Minecraft and then go to sleep, because I can't get into Atomfall. It's story based. South of Midnight wasn't out yet. I haven't really had the time to go and play Split Fiction a little bit more with Jen recently, and I've been meaning to, but I just haven't had the time. So yeah, my brief moments, my mindless game, my zone out game is just jump on Minecraft, build something, and go to bed.
Listen, Since you mentioned Minecraft, I'm going to the movies on the weekend. I already booked my tickets for the Minecraft with the boys, with my kids, of course. And we are very lucky, like 30-minute drive from where I live. We have the world's largest IMAX theater. It's the biggest theater in the world. It's super impressive, and I'm going to watch that on that screen, man.
Nice.
Yeah,
I mean, the kids will love it. Kids will love it.
They've never been to that cinema. It's only open for like 2 or 3 years, and whenever we wanted to watch a movie in there, it wasn't on that big screen. It was always in one of the other movie theaters in the place. So they've never seen that particular screen, and it is. But I've seen a couple of movies on that, and it is the most impressive thing, obviously, you've ever seen. It's like when before the movies, they always have this little show that they do. So yeah, you're sitting now in the world's largest IMAX theater, and then you see like a super small. It looks like 1 pixel illuminated, and they say, okay, this is the original size of an iPhone 15, and it fits on this screen. I don't know, 12 billion times, and then. They have like a car. Yeah, this is a car in its original size, and you think it's like this tiny, and it fits on this screen, like. And then they have a blue whale. Yeah, this is a blue whale in its original size, the biggest mammal ever lived. And
the only thing I could possibly kind of visualize that to is in Disney World for the Avatar Flights of Pandora ride.
Yeah.
It is a multi-story. Basically, it's multi-story. You all pretend to be like essentially ride banshees. Yeah. It's like a motorcycle type thing you sit on. But then the shutters open and it is just a giant screen with like 5-6 stories of people on these banshees. But like 1, 2, 3 all the way down to the bottom. And the screen is just as far as you can look left and right and up and down. It's massive. So I think that's probably as big as I can think about it without it being an IMAX screen, just a very large screen.
Yeah.
It has to be multiple 100 feet.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Would you not get a bad neck from trying to look at the top of the screen?
Yeah, if you can only book like seats in the very back row. Honestly, I watched
at the back of the town.
Yeah. My first movie I watched on that screen was the last Bond movie, and I was with 2 friends, and we were sitting there like front and center. And it is like impossible to watch a movie there, and especially since like you since this thing is so big. If you have like an action scene or something, and you're sitting too close, even though they all air these movies at 60 FPS because of the size of the screen, but still like. If you have a car chase scene, and in the car like moves with every image like 3 meters on that screen. Still, it's not a good experience if you sit too close on that thing. So yeah. Anyway, Dutch, I've been playing tons of Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm so hooked. I think like 40 hours in now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To be fair, the vast majority of feedback I've heard from people who are actually playing it, and not people who are just bitching about it, is that everyone loves it. They're addicted to it. They can't stop thinking about playing it.
Yeah.
When they're not playing it, they want to play it. So, and apparently, it's one of the best Assassin's Creeds they've done for a long time.
Absolutely. It could end up very well being the best Assassin's Creed I have played, and I've played them all except these 2D side-scrolling Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah. I mean, I've got them. I just have never played them.
I played one of them. I can't remember which one. There are like 3 of those or so, and I only played like one. But mainline Assassin's Creed, I play them all, and it could very well end up being the best to date. It really is that good. It's a really good story. The world, it still has the Assassin's Creed formula for open worlds, but for some reason it doesn't feel so bloated, you actually want to explore the question marks this time, because the side stuff you can play there is actually kind of rewarding. For instance, without spoiling anything, there are some of the question marks. You find these meditational sites, and then you can meditate with Naui, and the meditation takes you back, and then you play Naui as a child, and you relive parts of her childhood as a side mission. Then, these kind of things are really cool. It's not just, okay, go these stupid fetch quests, go to that place, kill that guy, come back or so, but you actually get background stories that are being told. Or with Yasuke, you learn of his past, how he became a samurai, and relive that in certain episodes when you go to certain places, and things like that. So the side quests stuff, the side stuff is really, really good, and it feels just rewarding exploring it. The world, also the way how they still have these like castles and stuff that you have to raid, but they have kind of introduced a couple of very interesting mechanics in there. It's not just go in and assassinate everyone. You have like in every castle specific targets that you have to like kill. Samurais, for instance, there are 2 certain samurais. You have to kill those to be able to find the big the key to get the big chest, and and it also rewards you to swap in between the 2 characters. At the beginning, it felt very much like, you can just play this game playing one of your favorite characters, either Naui or Yasuke. But it actually, like, really, there are certain missions where you kind of feel you have to switch now. And so, and then there are other missions that you better, going in like guns blazing into that tower also isn't a good idea. I switch to Naui and do it stealth, and the 2 characters really play very, very different. And it's just a beautiful world, obviously, like amazing visuals, the colors that they use to set the mood, the lighting, the sheer density of details that you have. It's technically beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I really, really love that game. I cannot stop playing it. I also played a couple of hours already on the Asus ROG Ally, and it actually runs pretty okay on that thing. You get like approximately 40 FPS stable on low settings, which doesn't sound too much, but with the great VRR screen on the Ally, it feels really smooth. Still, obviously, you have a little setback in settings when going to low, but it's not that noticeable since you're playing on the handheld screen, and so it's actually a really good experience on that thing as well. So, yeah, man, I'm absolutely loving it. And that's why I'm a little surprised that the community voted not for Assassin's Creed Shadows gameplay today here in the chat, but for The Witcher 3.
They just know you for The Witcher.
Yeah, they know me for The Witcher. I mean, you can never go wrong with The Witcher. So I have to switch the gameplay because I prepared Shadows gameplay because I thought the community is going to vote on that. Anyway, we are putting on some Witcher gameplay. That's what we do. We let people vote what they like to watch while we talk about the news. And Dutch, let's get into the news. because it was Nintendo Week, man. The big Switch 2 reveal finally out there. Yesterday, Nintendo had their approximately 1 hour long showcase where they revealed the console, the games, and a couple of other interesting things came out afterwards. I thought, like, before we get into the price topic, but you have that show, you announced the release date, Switch 2 coming on June 5th, then not release the price, but
don't know what they're doing.
Release that like an hour after the show via a tweet, basically. It's like...
It was really hard to find the price, by the way.
Yeah.
Really hard to find it.
Was really hard to find the price. Anyway, we'll get to the price. Let's talk about the console first. And then we need to talk, of course, about the games. So what did you think? They introduced the Switch 2. Yeah. Bigger screen, we already knew that. It has a bigger screen. The console itself didn't get thicker than the old one, but it's simply a little bit larger. Bigger battery capacity. And I've seen like every incompetent news site running with this. That means, you get to play longer in handheld mode. Just because you have a bigger battery doesn't mean it runs longer. Because exactly, it's got a bigger chip, it's got a bigger power consumption, so it could very well end up running worse. So that we shall see about that. The handheld screen, as I need to look at that a little bit up here, it has a 1080p screen with up to 120 frames per second HDR. It supports 4K output in docked mode. So nothing super special there. I mean, the LE also has 120 frames, 100 HDR screen, but of course, comparing it over to the original Switch, it's a big jump. And finally, we have at least 4K output possible and game supported. It comes with 256 gigabytes of internal data storage.
Which is a big improvement.
But in the day and age of 2025, it supports
but you know what it is? That is for a base amount, 256 is fine.
Granted, the Switch games aren't usually as big as we are used to.
The big ones are third-party games.
Yeah.
If you're talking about actual Nintendo first-party games, they're not that big. When you're talking about third-party games like The Witcher or Cyberpunk, one of them, by the way. That is going to be monstrously big on
the Switch. I mean, I could still see that game still being smaller in size in its Switch version because
it's smaller than console, but it's still going to be like 80 gig.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to extend your storage, you can add a micro SD Express card.
Yeah,
which
I've already done on mine. So
it also features backwards compatibility for supported games. Not exactly. I
saw a list as well that's been going around. There's 120 games that currently have backwards compatibility issues that they're trying to resolve.
Okay. I haven't seen that list.
Don't work at all.
Okay. Interesting.
And some of them are big games as well, including third-party games. Like The Witcher was one of them having an issue with booting up The Witcher.
So my Witcher Switch version wouldn't run on the Switch 2?
Currently.
Until
they resolve it. Yeah.
If they resolve it. I'm not sure if CD Projekt Red is going to put in the work, and you can bet your ass that Nintendo isn't doing.
Issue, to be fair. It's a Nintendo issue.
Yeah.
It's an issue where the games don't boot. and it's like a big long list. They've even got some of their own games on there that don't boot. So I think
Okay.
it seems to be a compatibility issue with whatever hardware they've got.
Okay. Yeah, let's hope that list is decreasing in its size. The Joy-Cons, you can take them off again, and you can use them as a mouse.
Yep.
And there's also gonna be a camera, which isn't included. It's optional. You can buy that. So what did you think? Let's talk about the hardware first. From what we've seen.
Yeah, from what we've seen, it's an improvement. The fact that they have the dock that is capable of 4K, hallelujah. One of my major gripes was playing Switch games on a large 4K TV looked like shit.
Yeah.
It really does. Look like
absolutely.
Shit. So I refuse to do it on like anything other than base Nintendo games where it doesn't really need the big pixels. Like the Mario's fine, your Zelda's okay-ish, Pokemon's okay-ish, but it's not great on a big screen.
Yeah.
So you never like the best I've ever actually played Nintendo Switch was on a monitor, a 1080p monitor, because it didn't require a big 4K screen. So hallelujah, now the dock supports 4K output, so it up-reses everything to 4K. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big bonuses there. Having a 1080p 120 hertz screen is great. I'm glad they support that. Of course, that's depending on game and which games support it. But that is good. Bumping up the resolution from 720 to 1080 in the first place is great. It just, again, adds that little bit extra clarity in handheld mode. You don't need anything more, really, than that in handheld, to be brutally honest. The only thing people will complain about, of course, is it not being an OLED screen. And I understand that. However, they have added kind of a little bit more, not HDR per se, but some form of some form of HDR on
the let's call it HDR.
Let's call it HDR for the purpose of this demonstration. We'll call it HDR. Nintendo's form of HDR in an LCD screen. What makes the dark colors darker and the bright colors brighter. So a little bit more vivid colors on the screen as well. Great. Again, as you've mentioned, the larger capacity memory, which we've just covered, which again is great because the capacity when you originally pick up a Nintendo is horrific.
Yeah, it is.
If you've got a digital library, if you've got a physical one or had a physical one, you didn't need to install games per se. So it wouldn't take up as much size. It would take up like a tiny little footprint, and the vast majority was on the card. However, issue going forward, as we found out with this hardware, is that games now, if bought physically, that is literally just a key for the download.
Yeah.
So if you're buying it physically, there is no game on that.
Not with every game, though. It's only with some games, to be fair.
The big one.
The big one. So Cyberpunk. There you go again.
Cyberpunk, Zelda, Pokemon. Just the big ones that you care about. Yeah. So a lot of them are going to be like that. Which could be an issue. But on that note, again, bigger screen. For me, I'll be getting one. I've mentioned this anyway. Irregardless of what they come out with, I need a new Switch. At this point, it is pointless for me to go out and just buy an OLED, the current OLED Switch. The new one's coming out soon anyway. So mine's on its last legs. It absolutely needs replaced. I need a new one. So I'll wait. I'll get the new one. I mean, it's not jumping out. It's not putting setting the world on fire. But Nintendo never has when it's come to its hardware since the Wii and then the GameCube, when they kind of did something different on both occasions there. But out after that, in terms of kind of what the hardware's power capabilities have been like, they've never been one to kind of set the world on fire and really jump out. And I think they didn't really make much of... you can tell it's Nintendo because at no point in time did they mention anything to do with what the system has internally. They just said it's a 1080p screen up to 120 hertz, and in dock mode it's 4K, and it's got HDR. And at no point did they say, and it's running from this type of chip, and this is the kind of power it has, and it's running on SSD, and this is like they didn't do any of that stuff because that's not their audience, and you can tell they're not bothered about the power aspect. So the only thing I was surprised at afterwards actually was the fact that some of the games announced for it were able to run on that thing, like Cyberpunk, which I'm still going to be curious about, as to just how good Cyberpunk runs on that thing. In terms of the battery life of the console, listen, I've never known handheld consoles realistically to last more than 4 hours if you're playing them consecutively.
Yeah.
They start to get really warm, and then you I've best plug it in. It's got like 10% or something like that left. So none of them, I've never known any handheld device to last long enough outside of like a Game Boy or a Game Boy Advance that don't require any processing power.
Although I think like if you were above 3 hours, I think that's fairly good for a handheld today.
That's what I'm saying.
So, I mean, that's
one thing I did like about it, actually, going back to the hardware before we talk about this, and battery life, which is, this is kind of connected to it. Hallelujah that they've put a USB port on the top of that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It totally makes sense.
Thing, especially on an airplane. That is the worst decision they made was putting the USB port on the bottom. I mean, how can I plug it in on an airplane when I'm trying to play the thing?
Yeah. I understand it because of the dock thing. Yeah. Although it wouldn't hurt you to just flip it upside down and put it this way into the stand thing, dock. Sithlord in the chat sends in a channel member chat for being a channel member for 32 months. Thank you so much, first of all, for the continued support. And he says, I'm buying one Day One and Mario Kart World. I think like everyone is going to get Mario Kart if you buy a Switch. All right. Too.
Yeah, they've already got the bundle there, so I think the bundle's just going to sell out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what it is, when we're getting around to the price, and the bundle price for that Mario Kart and an SD card isn't actually that bad, because there's a bundle that we've got over here, which is the console, Mario Kart World, and a 256 gig Nintendo-themed micro SD card with a Mario logo on it for, I think it was $479 or something.
Okay. I also agree. I think that the console price itself is okay-ish. I mean,
okay-ish. It's not egregious like some people are making out. Games-wise, we'll talk about that in a minute.
That's a different discussion, and we'll have that.
Yeah.
But
console price-wise, I think is fine. $395
in the UK, it's $450 here. 500 with Mario Kart, 500 euros. I think like 450 euros for a handheld console is okay. It's not super cheap. It's not like. The problem we've got is people are going to say, and only this is in a little bubble, because the vast majority of people outside of the internet bubble aren't going to say this. But the people in the bubble will say, well, for that price, you can get a Switch OLED, not a Switch OLED, sorry, a Steam Deck OLED, or you can get... And they are right, but this isn't the target audience, right?
Exactly.
That's not the target audience. The target audience are the especially with Nintendo, are the casuals, are the people like us that have nostalgia, and the families with kids, right? Those are... are the super target audience for that. And yeah, 450 is a hefty price, but on the other hand, if you look at like what Sony is charging for a PlayStation 5 Pro, right? And if you look at that the console prices for base PS5 and Xbox Series consoles went up.
Yeah.
Not down into even like now 4.5 years into the generation. We're still sitting at a recommended retail price. I know you can get it sometimes cheaper, but it's still $550, right? The recommended retail price. So I think $450 isn't the big deal. We'll talk about the game price in a second, but let me also speak a little bit about the console itself. I think you're not gonna get a Switch and expect power, just like you said, right? It's if you want something beefy, something, you're not targeting the Switch. It's exactly what we expected. It can do a bit higher resolution, a bit better frames. And that's about it. I mean, 4K output in docked mode is like just standard in 2025. So the hardware in its power capabilities isn't setting the world on fire, but that's not why you're getting a Nintendo console. 256 gigs is, I think, a little bit too low. At least go 500. I mean, seriously, they are moving also way more into the digital ownership. They've introduced the game sharing thing, how you can game share with digital libraries. By the way, something Microsoft tried to do 15 years ago when they introduced the original Xbox One. Yeah. But
people take it back because DRM.
But hey,
about DRM.
15 years later, we are finally here, and somebody at least introduces that into the digital world. But it just tells you, okay, they want to move you into the digital ownership thing. And you also mentioned a bunch of games not being fully on the cartridge, but you have to download extra stuff for it. And then 250 isn't really that much. And even the systems out there that, like, look at the Series S, which is targeted as the super entry price console, starts at 500. And it did that like 5 years ago when it came out in 2020, right? And every other handheld out there is in the small configuration, 500 gigs. Yeah. So, yeah, I would have loved a little bit more there. I really don't know if anyone's going to use the mouse thing on the SwitchCon, that you can use them as a mouse, because when you play on your couch in the living room, you don't have a table or something in front of you. I don't know who would use that unless you really put the Switch in stand mode and then sit on a table and do the mouse thing. I mean, it's a funny idea to have that included, but technically, practically, not sure if that is a feature that is going to be used a lot. But yeah, overall, the Switch 2 isn't like a revolutionary hardware design in any way, shape, or form. When you look back at when they launched the Wii, that was a new idea. Even the Wii U was a new concept we haven't seen before. The Switch itself was a new hardware concept. And, well, this is just a little bit bigger and a better Switch, which doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Just saying, so from a pure console design, it really doesn't set the world on fire. But and they finally added, we haven't talked about that, game chat, right? There's a built-in microphone, and you finally have online chat and screen share features. probably knowing Nintendo and their online infrastructure, it's probably not going to be the most sophisticated thing.
Yeah.
But at least it's there now, and you don't have to use a different app or something to actually chat.
But now you've got a lovely giant microphone on the top of your Switch. Like
is the Switch listening now to everything? Or what?
Just like wonderful thing that PlayStation introduced that has this delightful microphone on
which I always turn off. Which I always it's crap. I've also turned off the sound coming out of the controller. By the way, it's just awful. But yeah, the Switch at least has this functionality now. So it feels like Nintendo has arrived in the year 2025. Or better said, in the year 2000, when all the other consoles introduced that. And
of course, they've introduced their own Kinect camera. So
and their Kinect camera, yeah, true.
Yeah. So this is Xbox 2000 and what? 2013?
10? When the Xbox One? We have Game Share with DRM, we have a camera, we have a microphone. Remember when everyone was like afraid, oh, now Microsoft is always listening to what is going on in the living room. And like 2 years later, everyone bought an Alexa and put that in their rooms. But
my thing here is, Nintendo going to do exactly the same as what Sony do and require you to have this specific camera?
I don't think so.
Because Sony requires you to use this specific camera if you want to use the camera on your console.
I ask myself the same thing, but they always use the wording and the phrasing, you can connect a USB-C camera. They never once mentioned like you can connect our Switch camera or the Switch camera or whatever to it. They always phrased it like connect a USB-C camera. So
yeah,
I do not know for sure, but it did sound to me that you could use any USB-C camera. So
okay.
Anyway, Dutch, let's talk about the games and the launch lineup. They've shown Mario Kart World, it's called, a brand new entry. Finally, we didn't get a brand new entry throughout the entire Switch generation. Mario Kart 8 came originally out on the Wii U. But since nobody owned the Wii U, there was really no need. It was okay for them to
resell it on the Switch and sell 100 billion copies.
Exactly. So now Mario Kart World, what were your thoughts, man? Launch title?
Yep. Looks absolutely fantastic. They've increased the amount of races on screen at any one time.
Yeah.
Runs really well. I mean, it's Mario Kart. Everybody loves it. Everybody plays it. If I can play it online with friends even more, I will do that. The closest thing that's come close to that on any other consoles being Crash Team Racing. But no, Mario Kart's just a game that I think every Nintendo owner has to have in their library.
Yeah. I don't think anyone doesn't own it.
Yeah, I think everybody has it, and everybody will have it, and every Nintendo Switch 2 owner will have Mario Kart World, and I'll be one of them. I'll be doing the same thing when I get the Switch 2. I'll be getting the bundle with Mario Kart World.
So it is decided for you, you're getting one. Because honestly, I do agree on Mario Kart, but that's the only game I would like to play. There was...
Initially.
Yeah, maybe
for me and Nintendo, much like PlayStation, I only ever end up buying maybe 1 or 2 games per year, and that's because I use the Nintendo Switch so infrequently anyway, it doesn't bother me. Now, the reason I use it so infrequently at the moment, though, is because it is shit and almost broken. So... So I barely touched the thing. But I do have a brand new, not too long ago, Switch Pro controller, because the other one was a little bit acting up.
By the way, did they confirm that the
There is
old
a
Pro
controller.
you have to
The
use?
old Pro controller does work. No, the old Pro controller does.
It does work. Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that really changed on the new one, I know they've added a couple of extra little bits and bobs, but the only big change to it was the C button for the game
C button.
chat.
Yeah.
I
don't need that anyway. Yeah, I'm a little torn, honestly, whether to get it day one.
The only thing that doesn't work, of course, is the Joy-Cons because they're new.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is clear.
Bigger.
That's clear.
Bigger, magnetic, etc. So, yeah.
I mean, I could just keep my Pro controllers then. That would make sense. Yeah, but I'm still a little torn. I'm a bit honestly underwhelmed by the launch lineup. Yeah, I would love to play a Mario Kart again. It's always fun. But I know myself, don't have too many Switch friends online. So it's really, I would do like all the cups and then just move on, and I'm not sure if I'm investing that much money into a console that I would only play Mario Kart on as of right now. Maybe if in a year or so they launch a new 3D Mario, which I was actually expecting to be at the show, right? Or the next Zelda and so on, then my FOMO will rise. But as of right now, I mean, on the other hand, I do own all consoles, and I would definitely feel FOMO missing out, not having the first Nintendo console in like ever. I've owned every console since the NES from Nintendo, and so that's obviously why I'm still torn. But I'm honestly a little underwhelmed by the launch lineup, and at the same time this year, we will talk about it later. The Asus Xbox Handheld is going to come out, and just looking at this, I play a lot on my Ally, on my current ROG Ally. I have the launch day one thing, Asus ROG Ally, not the ROG Ally X, and I love that thing, and I love to play games on it. And I play way more on my Asus than I do play on my Switch. The last time I turned the Switch on for me was when the Zelda came out, right? And after that, the kids are playing occasionally, but let's be real, Mario and stuff like that isn't hyped. They are not hyped for that anymore. Barely any of their friends play on the Switch. The kids all play Minecraft on their tablets. They all play Minecraft on the PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. Yeah, but nobody. My kids are now first and third grade. They are not into Nintendo anymore, the kids these days. Yeah? Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite. That's the hot stuff on the schoolyard. So I can't even say I would be buying a Switch for the kids. I can't really say that. And so I'm a little torn, and haven't decided yet. Yes, there's Metroid Prime 4 coming, which I'm actually really looking forward to. But then I still could play that on the old Switch. I don't need the new one for that. Right? On the other...
I need one just because my Switch is on death's door.
No,
so
yeah. I can understand that.
Only that. I've got a couple of games this year that I would want to play on it. Of course, Pokemon ZX is coming out. Mario Kart, a couple of other little ones as well there that I'll probably try out. But again, I don't need mountains of them. I've still got a mountain of games on the Switch currently that I haven't played that I would like to play in handheld mode when I travel. But I ultimately just don't bring my Switch with me now because it's not worth the degraded battery life and terrible Joy-Cons that they've currently got on there that are almost broken. So.
I can understand that. I can absolutely understand that. But then I got the Rock Ally for that. Yeah, on the Rock Ally, I can play Assassin's Creed right now. Yeah, I have Assassin's Creed Shadows installed there. I'm gonna install South of Midnight there because in 2 weeks I'll be traveling a lot. Just take my games that I'm actually playing with me. And since there isn't a new Mario or a new Zelda or something, I'm actually like, oh yeah, I need to play that. Coming. Metroid Prime 4, yeah, of course. But again, I can play that on the old Switch. So I am, and at the same time, you bet your ass that the new Asus Xbox handheld is at least $700. That was the price of the original Asus Rock Ally at launch, and it's gonna be at least $700 for that thing. And that would be a handheld that I would use not on a daily basis, but at least a couple of times a week, you know? And I know that I would buy the Switch, I would play 20 hours of Mario Kart till I have all the gold cups, and then move on and turn it on in a year, maybe in 2 years when the next Mario comes out. So I'm not 100% convinced right now. But let's talk about some of the other games that they have shown. Of course, there was Metroid Prime in there, a little teaser. It runs at 4K 60 on the Switch 2. Is what they said. Dustin Lambert in the chat says it's 720 at 120 frames. I think they said 1080 at 120. Be that as it may, Metroid Prime looks...
It'll be did you say it was, 60 frames?
At 4K.
Oh, yeah, in docked,
In docked. And you can play it at 120 frames. I think they said 1080. Docked. Yeah, docked mode.
I think in handheld it could be 720 at 120.
No, that could be. Yeah. That could very well be. Yeah. So, yeah, that looks actually, I think, really good. Metroid Prime 4. Really looking forward to that game. What else did they show?
I can't imagine they were needing to play at 120 FPS on Metroid Prime, though. Let's be honest. I don't think that game would really require 120 FPS.
I mean, 120 is.
It's not like it's a competitive shooter, though, is it?
No, it isn't. It isn't. I mean, 120 always feels awesome, but usually the hits you have to take over 60 on consoles is just too much for me, and 60 is still feeling really, really good. So, but yeah, Metroid Prime would definitely be one. Then they announced tons of third-party games like Borderlands 4 is coming. Yeah, Civilization 7 is coming. Enter the Gungeon 2. Which I thought was interesting. Yeah, Cyberpunk, of course, is coming. Hollow Knight made a super short Yeah. But you know everyone is looking forward to that.
I mean, they're looking forward to it, but the reason I'm going, oh no, not this again, is because we had this last year when I did the Indie Showcase, and they said it was coming that year, and the year before they showed it off, and they said it was coming that year. And now Nintendo have showed a tiny little clip of it, and they said it's coming this year. Listen, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I just simply do not believe that game's coming out this year.
Although I do think that if it wouldn't come out this year, they would not have, reconfirmed that.
I mean, they're just doing it to say it still exists, by the way. I honestly don't think it's coming out. I don't.
It's going to come out.
We never hear about it again. But it's. I don't think it is. Not this year. I think it'll go back again to next year, and Team Cherry will never actually speak to anybody about it.
It's gonna come out this year. It's gonna come out. So coming back to the Switch and the lineup and the games.
Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit separately, honestly, because there's another discussion involved there. But in general, I think with the Switch 2 being way more powerful, you can already tell that there's a way better third-party support. Because if you look back at the Switch, there are certain games, third-party games that have come out on the Switch, but usually like a year later. It took them a year to bring Hogwarts Legacy to that thing, right? And then it ran like shit. And yes, there are games like The Witcher or the 2017 Doom, on there.
Or
Wolfenstein, yeah, true. But overall, you barely had the chance to play any third-party games on there, and that's about to change. And I think that was one very strong message that they provided. Hey, you can now also play these third-party games on the Switch, right?
You know what thing I think is going to be difficult to run on the Switch?
Tell me.
And not because of the game quality, but just because of its sheer size.
Call of Duty.
Yes. That thing's bigger than the install base for the console.
Yeah, but if you don't download the high-res textures and stuff, I think the game size is significantly smaller.
Might just squeeze in.
Yeah.
It'll take up your entire space on your console if you want to play Call of Duty there, but you might be able to play it.
Yeah. They've also shown a Donkey Kong game.
They have
3D action jump and run kind of game. Very action-oriented trailer, actually. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it looks cool. I've never been a huge Donkey Kong fan, believe it or not. I've always just been into the regular Marios, Mario Kart. I was never into the Luigi's Mansion games.
Luigi's Mansions are good, though.
I know people love those. Yeah,
they are good.
But yeah, believe it or not, I've always, for Nintendo, it's either been the Mario games or Pokemon. That's my 10-2 drivers for that console.
And Zelda.
I grew up on Pokemon. Zelda, not so much for me. I own the Zeldas.
Really?
I own Tears of the Kingdom, and I own the first one, Breath of the Wild, of the new generation. But I've never been a massive Zelda fan.
Oh, I am. That's my favorite Nintendo IP over Mario.
Yeah.
Even
mine's Pokemon. Mine always has been.
Yeah,
but I grew up on it. That's the thing. It's it's definitely a nostalgia thing because I grew up on that with the original Game Boy.
Absolutely. I also firmly believe that if you would have labeled Breath of the Wild as with a random other name, it would not even remotely had the success or the praise it got. Obviously, Nintendo is heavily relying on nostalgia. Everyone grew up with Nintendo IP, whether it's Pokemon or Mario or Zelda or Metroid or whatever, that's their jam. Yeah, nostalgia. Absolutely. And like I said earlier, I was really surprised. I just had this conversation like a week or so ago with my wife because, the kids in schoolyards, they are absolutely not playing Mario. Nintendo. Yeah. My kids do love to play Mario Kart. Yeah, that's the only time we turn on the Switch in our household lately. But my bigger one,
you always hit them with the blue shell just as they're going across the line, or
yeah. I do that.
I'm
not sparing them. I teach That's how you learn to swim. Yeah, you throw them into the water. But no, but don't do that. Yeah, that was a joke.
So give him a life jacket first.
Yeah. But it really is surprising to me. My oldest son is turning 9 next month, right? And he's like, he came to me like, Daddy, nobody is playing Mario Kart. I want to rather play this or that. Mostly Minecraft right now. It's just getting started with Fortnite. At the age of 8, 9, they're gonna start Fortnite. But so far, it's mainly been Minecraft and the Lego games. A lot of kids play actually the Lego games. So, but yeah,
I think Minecraft will just never die. I cannot see that game ever dying.
Yeah,
it just seems to
I agree.
Generations.
I agree. And I thought to myself, and let me know in the chat, what do you think? Is this like a long-term issue for Nintendo? Because since Nintendo is so heavily relying on nostalgia, and let's be real, if we wouldn't have nostalgia for it, we wouldn't even consider getting a Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you wouldn't have nostalgia for Mario or Pokemon, you wouldn't be getting a Switch. Why would you? And if you think like 15, 20, 10 or 10, 15 years from now, 10, 15 years from now, those kids, my kids, they will be at the age of 25. They've never really gotten into the whole Nintendo IPs because nobody is playing them anymore. And they lose that nostalgia factor. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure how this goes. And then we are old. We're already old, but we are even older. And maybe some of this nostalgia dies off. Like, I'm feeling it right now. I just mentioned that I'm torn. I'm not, like, usually new console. Bam, day one, I'm getting that. And this time I'm sitting there, is it really worth the money? And would I rather spend the money on the new Asus handheld? And because, Mario Kart is cool, but you know what I mean? And I'm not sure if Nintendo is heading into...
Here's a little fact for you.
Yeah.
What age range do you think is the most popular for the Nintendo Switch?
I don't know. Really don't know.
Between the ages of 20 and 25 is the most popular.
20 and 25.
Also, a significant portion of the users are well into their mid-40s.
Yeah, mid-40s, that's us, right? That's us.
Yeah.
But
so a significant portion, if not the vast majority, of people who play on Nintendo are not kids.
Yeah, I can from the little bubble I have seen here in Germany, I can confirm that it's not the kids. They are not into. I can't remember when my kids last asked me, hey, if I want to play video game. They get their daily screen time. They'd rather spend that in Minecraft than in Mario Kart or something. This is just not a thing anymore. And the kids that are today 25, right? Maybe they were the last generation that might have lived with or grown up with the Nintendo IPs. So 15 years ago, Minecraft was already there, but it wasn't the big thing. Tablets were not that established yet, and I'm not sure. I wonder that where Nintendo is.
I think what it is. It's going to be. I do agree to a certain extent. It's going to be difficult, but then again, it's relatively the same for Xbox and PlayStation. Establishing a new household IP is practically impossible these days.
Yeah.
you don't just stumble upon a Mario or a Zelda or a Pokemon or a Master Chief or something like. You just don't stumble upon these what you would not just system sellers but renowned IPs that everybody knows.
Yeah.
These things that either happen or they don't, and the vast majority of it's built on nostalgia. People know it because everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Now, Master Chief, people make fun of it, but of course, Master Chief now being in Fortnite has opened up loads of Fortnite kids to go, oh, is that the guy from Fortnite?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's from Halo. But such as the IP that they just put it everywhere now, it's a big IP. Nintendo, of course, like you say, they've got Mario, they've got Luigi, they've got Zelda, they've got Princess Peach. They've got Donkey Kong. They've got, what is that cozy game that everyone plays? The one on the island where you've got to build your little island up and things like that.
Animal Crossing, yeah, massive. That's humongous. I think that is that a lot of the older generation are exactly
Animal Crossing.
It is, but it is for the older generation, and the older the people get, of course, there are diehard video game fans like us here, and I would assume every one of our listeners are in that minority. We will not are in the minority that will not stop playing video games. But I see it in my friend circle. You know, a lot of my friends have grown out of being a hardcore gamer. Some of them are still casual gamers and play the FIFAs and so on, but it's not like they are as invested in gaming anymore the older they grow. And I definitely assume that we see that also with, of course, Xbox and PlayStation as well. Yeah. But since you can play Roblox or your Fortnite or your Minecrafts also on a console, and it's usually a way better experience than on a tablet, kids still play consoles. I cannot say that, but it's not the Nintendo thing, and this is just. Yeah, we shall see how Nintendo. If we're still doing a podcast in 10 years from now, Dutch, we need to revisit that topic.
I think what will help them this generation is having increased third-party support. Like you mentioned, they do very well on their first party, like unmatched for the sales numbers.
Absolutely. Right now,
absolutely unmatched.
Yeah,
nobody comes close. No console comes close to the numbers they generate for first-party games.
Yeah,
you're talking like you mentioned Mario Kart. That's almost a 1-to-1 adoption rate for Mario Kart per console. And then the vast majority of others are either 1 for 2, so every other person has a copy, or it's 1 for 3 or 1 for 4. And that is like a ridiculous percentage of uptake per console user.
Absolutely.
No other console has that, not even close. So they're doing absolutely fine. But I think what we need to kind of move over to soon is the pricing aspect of the games.
Yeah.
Which could harm them. Which could absolutely harm them.
Let's talk about that, man. Yeah. Switch games, price increase. It's literally during the show, I was at work, so I came home at 6-ish yesterday, and then I watched the thing back, and then I went online to see what people thought, and everyone was mad. I think the presentation of the console itself, the console price itself, and even from my perspective, relative weak launch lineup wasn't the issue. The issue was that they increased game prices. Digital games are now 80 euros and 90 euros for the physical ones. So the 80 euro price point, everyone was mad about that. And I was like, oh, not again, game price increases. And then I then it hit me. Is it? I can't. It's hard that people don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say now. But every other publisher is charging 80 euros for a game. 80. Every PlayStation game, every Xbox game, every third-party publisher charges 80 euros. Yeah. And now Nintendo is doing it, and everyone is freaking out. And then it hit me. Most of the people I've seen complaining about this were from the US. Because the US always gets cheaper games. It's $10 less for games on Xbox, on PlayStation, and every third-party game costs $10 less in the US. Everywhere else in the world, Nintendo is now just charging the regular standard price. So, do I understand that people are upset about price increases? Absolutely, I am too. I would rather pay $70 again. But I cannot finger point towards Nintendo for doing it because everyone else has done it. So, yeah, I'm not happy, but it's just the standard price. And for the first time, a publisher decided to not give a price reduction to the US and just treat the US folks like everyone else in the world. And I know it's hard to hear that for Americans because they get the PS5 Pro super cheap. Super cheap.
The additional thing here, though, that is also going, I think, will have the impact is the tariffs.
I've seen that discussion. I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know if the tariffs are really the thing. I just honestly think
it will. I think it will have an impact.
It will have an impact to a certain degree.
On them.
I mean, that's what tariffs do, right? But it's a different discussion, Dutch. But yeah, so I hate to break it to our friends from the United States, but you get the PS5 Pro cheap, you get every other game cheaper, and now you're just paying the same like the rest of the world.
We've been paying more than them for a while. So while they've been paying $70, we've been paying 70 euros or
exactly
£70
for a game.
£70 into dollars. That equates, so it's if I was doing that £70 into euros, that would be 83 euros. If I was doing £70 into dollars, that would be $91.
That's the standard price there. And Prince Green in the chat says, but the price in Europe went up also, same as in Canada and Australia. I agree. The prices went up, but they went up to the same level like Xbox games, PlayStation games, third-party publisher games. So really, I do not want to defend it because price increases are never good. Obviously. But we cannot really finger point just towards Nintendo because PlayStation and EA and Ubisoft and Xbox and everyone else did the exact same thing a couple of years ago. And Nintendo is just trying to catch up there. I hate to pay more for the games. And honestly, that's also one thing. The question really is, if you look at, I don't know, the Donkey Kong game, right? Do you really want to pay 80 euros? And a lot of people on the Switch also, Nintendo really isn't there in the like whole digital era just yet. They obviously trying to get there now with the Switch too, but Nintendo has the highest percentage of physical sales of all console manufacturers, right? I went fully digital on Xbox during the 360 days and never bought a single disc ever since. Like, I'm fully digital now for, I want to say, at least 18 years on Xbox and PlayStation, by the way, I have not bought one disc, but I do own almost all my Switch games on physical. And physical is at 90 euros or 90 US dollars respectively. And
they're charging, they've
do
got
I want
cheaper price digital for a change.
Which kind of in itself makes sense, right? And yeah, I know it's cartridges and it's not discs. Cartridges are more expensive, but not $10 more expensive.
For me, in the price range thing, I think I would be more bothered. I would absolutely be more bothered if Nintendo was my main, and these were the prices coming up. I think the reason I'm not as fussed is because I buy games that infrequently on this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm buying 1 or 2 games a year at most on the Nintendo Switch. Like, if I was buying a game every other month, I could understand being...
Yeah, but then, we are used to gaming getting kind of cheaper with Game Pass, but I know that's us.
Well, there's another thing I wanted to quickly jest about. I've seen a lot of the people that were calling people welfare pass and broke boys for playing on Game Pass also complaining about the price of games now.
Yeah.
So you can't have both worlds.
No, you can't have both worlds. And you can call me cheap, but I just subbed to Ubisoft Plus to play Assassin's Creed Shadows, so I'm playing that for $15. Was it $16 a month?
By the creators in order for you to enjoy their games. If they didn't want you to use it, they wouldn't have brought it out.
Exactly. Don't come at me with the support. You need to support the devs. If it wasn't a business model for them, they wouldn't offer it to you. So there's no complaining. I'm not doing piracy or anything. I'm just playing games through what the publisher wants you to play it, and it's a subscription service. And I'm and then I'm thinking, do I really want to pay 90 euros for a Donkey Kong game? Where in a day and age where I have more games than I could possibly play anyway.
Another issue as well, Boxy. I think it's if people knew that the games would reduce like every other console, where the game prices would fall, I think people wouldn't be as fussed because they go, I'll just wait for sale. This is Nintendo, however, and games don't reduce in price.
Yeah.
Ever. So there's no such thing as a sale on Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's very true. So yeah, am I happy about the price increase? Absolutely not. Do I think it is as bad as people make it out to be? I also do not think so, because it's just the industry standard now. To pay 80 euros for a game. That's what Assassin's Creed costs as well if I buy that.
Yep. And this is why we enjoy Game Pass and sub-services for what they are.
Exactly.
They give people the budgeting ability to get certain games when they want to get certain games that aren't in these things, and yet still keep up with some of the bigger releases through a subscription model. Hallelujah.
But still, man, if you just think about the sheer value that Game Pass is providing you there, it's insane. It's really insane. Yeah. South of Midnight out now. Atomfall, I didn't have the chance to play that just yet. So that's going to the backlog, right? And Expedition 33 is about to launch in what now? 2 weeks? 3 weeks from now.
3 weeks,
And then we have Doom. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So the sheer value is insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, kind of recapping on this Nintendo thing, will I be getting one? Absolutely. I need one. I know you're kind of on the fence about it at the moment. I need one. My Switch is falling apart. That's one of the main reasons I'm getting one, by the way. and the reason I've held off replacing it with a Switch OLED or another version of the current Switch is because there's a new model around the corner. If I'm going to change it and get a new one, I may as well wait and just get the new one. So that's the only reason I'm getting mine like pretty much on launch. Yes, I'll be getting the bundle with Mario Kart World and the SD card. And I might pick up a Switch Pro controller too, but I'm going to look at it to see if there's any actual discernible differences. If there's not, then I'll just get the console and use my current Switch Pro controller. It won't make much of a difference. I already have a back catalogue of games, like I mentioned, that I haven't really got round to playing properly on the Switch because the Switch is in such poor state currently that I'd rather not. So I'd rather wait, and then at least I can play it on... mentioning this as well, one final thing to bring up. The upgrades that you can get for certain titles. Paid upgrades.
Paid upgrades.
Again, I hear some people shouting and raving about this, but these were the same people that didn't mention a bloody thing when Sony introduced paid upgrades.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden now, they're getting angry about it.
They're getting angry about it. And that's why sometimes the hardcore gaming bubble that you see on Twitter also, or X, you have to be careful. That's really not the perception of the vast majority out there. Not always. Yeah. No, to summarize my feelings again, I do have a hard time thinking not to buy it because I did own every Nintendo console since the NES, including all their handhelds. So but do I need one this year? Actually, I tell a lie. I did not buy the Wii U. Again, most people didn't. I did have the Wii U. I actually enjoyed that. This was this whole idea back in the time at the Wii U. My wife and we didn't live in the house we do live now, where we have like multiple rooms. We had just the living room. We were living in a small apartment at the time. And it was a super convenient thing to, like, okay, she wants to watch something on the big screen. Yeah, you just take the thing out, play it in handheld mode. When you were playing on the big screen, you had this, like you had in Zelda, you had your map right here in front of you without needing to pull up a menu or something. It was a cool concept, actually, for its time, but it wasn't really a proper handheld because you had to stay with the base, so you really couldn't. Not even going into the next room did work to play your game then, and so you really had to be close to the base station and so on. So, but I did have one. I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. Not the best Nintendo console ever made, though. That's still the GameCube. No.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I'm glad someone else agrees.
Yeah.
Justin Lambert in the chat says, paid upgrades is a super weird thing with the Switch. Some of them are paid, some are not. However, most are free if you're subbed to Nintendo Switch Online.
Okay. I didn't know that about the online thing.
All right.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I mean, the Nintendo Switch Online is one of the cheapest online annual fees.
Yeah, it's like 24 euros or so a year.
Yeah, it's really cheap for the year.
So, I wonder if that stays at the price point.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
You know what it is? I think Nintendo could theoretically introduce, but then again, they have heavy DRM on their titles, but Nintendo could theoretically introduce their own sub-service and have a Nintendo Switch Online sub-service as well, because they've already got the regular Nintendo Switch Online, the family pack version of the Nintendo Switch Online. They theoretically could do a game subscription service model of that too, and they could charge, to be fair, considering they don't charge much as it is anyway, they could probably charge $15-20 a month for their own online service.
Yeah.
With Nintendo, you could easily just sub a month, try a game out, jump off it. you know what Nintendo like? They'll just revoke the game off you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
True that.
But yeah, on that, I didn't notice that about that, but that's good to know. The Nintendo Switch Online thing, you get a lot of them. Probably not all, but you get a lot of them via that, which is good for the upgrades.
So, Dutch, one game we didn't talk about that they have shown, and we want to use it as a segue because we want to move away a little bit from Nintendo for a minute and get into some Xbox topics this week. Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced for the Switch, so you can now integrate the super duper deluxe version with all the DLC, right? Introduced for the Switch too, so you can play it now on the Switch, you can play it on PC, and you obviously can play it on PlayStation, but not Xbox. So what's up with that, man?
Yeah, well, the thing is they didn't mention when this game was coming out. They didn't say it was coming out for the launch of the Switch 2 either. And with that in mind,
I thought
they just mentioned it was coming to the Nintendo Switch 2.
Let me Google that real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They didn't announce a release date for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
With that in mind, I think people might jump the gun here a little bit first. And even a lot of the people who have said that it's still coming, Nate the Hate, for example, one of the ones that continues to put the rumors out there and continues to put the reveals and leaks and things out there. He said, still coming to both FF6 and FF7 games. I think realistically, this is the first time after that thing, they've been able to announce it coming to a different platform outside of PC. So Switch 2 is a good place to start because, of course, it was a console reveal announcement. So here we go. It's on a different console now, not just PC.
That makes sense.
The next big one, the next big event is June.
Yeah, Dustin in the chat says the same thing. It will be at the June showcase. I mean, I didn't realize. I could have sworn that they said coming to at launch on June 5th, right? But obviously they didn't, and then this would absolutely make sense. At the June at the Switch showcase, you announce it coming to the Switch. You announce it at the June showcase, Xbox showcase. It's coming to Xbox, and then with a date, okay, you can now play that on the Switch and the Xbox in July or whatever.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that would definitely make sense. Would be cool.
And it's like another relaunch for them. It's essentially like another relaunch for them because they can then say available now on all platforms.
On all platforms, yeah. And it also would make sense from like a marketing perspective because when you launch it on the Switch and Xbox together, you see people playing it on the Switch online and you get people hyped that do play on Xbox and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. And it would be time for the game to come to Xbox. It's a phenomenal game, and I would love.
I'll get it again, just to do the achievements.
See, I don't care for achievements at all. However, I absolutely loved, especially the remake. I mean, Rebirth was really good. It didn't stick with me the same way like the remake did, though.
Yeah.
So I might be getting it again.
You will.
It really depends, man. I'm cheap. If I don't have the time to play it again.
Yeah, but Square Enix have also had a recent track record of putting their games as Xbox Play anyway. So the likelihood is you'll also be able to play it on your Ally and your PC. Cross progression.
But then if I have tons of other games to play, do I buy a game again? Probably at full price.
How many times have you bought Witcher?
Yeah, but Final Fantasy isn't The Witcher. Final Fantasy.
That's irrelevant. How many times have you bought The Witcher?
4 times. I do on
Yes.
Xbox PlayStation, Switch, PC.
Yeah.
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 No, 5
I've
times. I
also-
bought
I
it
also
twice
ordered
on
3 times,
Xbox
by the way.
because I bought the original
Yeah.
release or original launch, and then they had the full the complete edition, and I bought that again on Xbox for I don't know $10 or so, because when it came out, cross progression was only available with that version to my PC version, because I had the complete edition on PC, and so if I would have I cannot do complete edition on PC and base edition on Xbox. You don't have cross save there. At the time, it works now, by the way. I just realized that when I installed it on the Ellie again. It does work then now, but it didn't at the time, and that's why I bought it twice on Xbox. Once on PlayStation, once on Switch, once on PC. But again, Final Fantasy isn't The Witcher. And I would definitely buy it if it's like $10 or so. But full price, let's see. They need to announce it first before we speculate about that.
I don't think it will be full price when it comes out.
Yeah, it might be like $50 or so.
Yeah. 40 something, 50.
Yeah. That could be. But let's also talk about Let's also talk about some other Xbox news. We talked about this last podcast when all these rumors emerged that Xbox is partnering up with Asus to do a handheld this year. And just a day before, or 2 days before the Switch reveal, it wasn't an April Fool's joke, so it was March 30th. Asus put up like a little teaser video. Obviously, you've seen that, where they had this Asus handheld, right? And they mixed, and there was a little guy, right? And he took an Xbox controller and they merged that together, and it was a little tease. And I think you're still here? Yeah. Okay. No, I thought just for a minute your image is frozen again. So they had this little tease for a new Asus handheld. Yeah. So and then the official Xbox account, tweeted like the eye emojis underneath that, and so basically teasing, this is a thing, this is going to happen. There will be a new Ally, and it's gonna be Xbox branded in some way, shape, or form. What were your thoughts when you saw that? Because I have a couple of tiny tidbits that maybe some people missed, but let me hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very tiny teaser that flew across the screen.
Absolutely.
Of course, they showed very briefly the console, and the controller, the Xbox ROG controller that they did a little while back. That went along with it. But it was the fact that they had the controller right next to it. And then, of course, Xbox going, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Which kind of sent everybody into the guesswork thing. But, it doesn't look too dissimilar from the ROG, the regular ROG Ally, in all fairness. It looks very similar.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really show how the thing is going to really look like, so...
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to discern from it, but we knew it was happening. It all depends on what power output they're going for here and what pricing tag they're going for. It'd be interesting to see, surely on that basis with ROG, as to the price angle they're aiming for here, to kind of get an understanding of what their market is.
Yeah. See, I mean, the original Asus ROG Ally came out at $700, with the Z1 Extreme chip. There was a cheaper version, $100 cheaper with the Z1 base chip, but nobody bought that. So it was $700 at 700 euros. I actually don't know the US price. If someone in the chat knows, let us know. It was 700 euros here, and I would be absolutely surprised if that thing comes out and is cheaper than that.
Yeah. I'd be surprised.
There have been rumors out there for a long time that Asus is gonna launch a new LE this year anyway with the Z2 chip from AMD, which is just about to come out. I would assume that they do take over what they did with the ROG Ally X, which has 8 gigs more of RAM than the original ROG Ally. That was the only like hardware improvement that they made. More RAM, 24 gigs then. I would assume that they are going to match that, because I don't know if you really need 32 gigs, especially considering price in that thing. The Z2 Extreme is apparently way less power hungry. So hopefully they can improve the battery lifetime, because realistically, depending of course a bit on the game, but if you can get an hour out of gaming, out of the battery life of the Asus ROG, that's a lot. Most games like Assassin's Creed Shadows, 50 minutes and your battery is empty on the LE. So my best companion is a portable power bank. It really doesn't bother me too much. It would be better to not always have to carry the power bank with you, but yeah. So at least 2 hours would be cool in battery life for that thing. Yeah. I think the interesting thing is, what is the Xbox branding? Because the original Ally already was heavily Xbox branded, right? They had the same controller layout. The buttons were exactly the same. The XYAB system, R1, RT, and RB, right? Were there. So the controller schematic was already Xbox branded on the ROG Ally. So what would you expect to have as an Xbox branding?
I think maybe your power button is going to be on the front fascia, and that obviously be the Xbox button.
Yeah.
Of course, I think they'll be using Xbox's new handheld UI that they've been working on.
The Windows gaming handheld focused thing.
Yeah. However, of course, I think that might be more of an Xbox boot up if you turn the thing on. It'll have the Xbox
that could be, yeah, because right. But then on the other hand, in that little teaser, Dutch, when the little guy had this handheld, and you only saw like the shadow of it, but then the Armory Crate logo appeared on that. So that actually suggested to me, okay, this is still an Armory Crate. Maybe that's more like the Asus ROG kind of logo for it. Could be, yeah. But my first initial thought was, damn it, we will get the Armory Crate again, rendering an Xbox UI basically pointless, unless they fix the constant driver and update issue on that thing, because that's really one of the two things that are super annoying on the ROG Ally, is that the ROG Ally right now boots into Windows, and like every time you turn it on, you have either a Windows update to perform, you have a driver update to perform, you have an Armory Crate update to perform, you have an Asus BIOS update. On my PC, I do like one BIOS update a year. On the ROG Ally, I have like at least one BIOS update a month, at least, if not more often. Like, it's just these constant, permanent updates are one of the two super annoying things about the ROG Ally. So this is what I'm hoping, that they really have that Windows Lite version that we all want, right? A Windows that is just used for gaming. Forget the desktop, forget the annoying things of constant updates. Just boot that thing up and play games. I really hope that this is what they are going for. We know, I mean, Jason Ronald teased something like that at CES this year in January, right? That they are working to improve that and so on. I just hope that they really, really deload Windows, because it could also just very well be that they adjust it a little bit so it can be easier handled with touch or a controller. But in its core, it's still Windows, and you have to deal with all the shit that comes along with Windows.
Yeah.
If that's the case, listen, I know a lot of people complain, oh, the desktop mode is really annoying and you cannot handle that. But on my ROG Ally, I never go into desktop mode. I always boot the games up from my Armory crate. I take my screenshots in the Armory crate and I'm good. I don't need the Windows desktop. Yeah. But it forces me to do that. And so it doesn't bother me as much that Windows isn't really suited for handheld. That's not the problem. The problem is Windows and the updates and all the annoying stuff. It's not that it's not comfortable to handle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Would that
See, for me, I've been waiting patiently, and I still will wait, because I don't think I'm going to jump on this ROG Ally Xbox handheld. But I'm waiting patiently to see what the official Xbox handheld is going to be like when that releases, before deciding on any handheld, because I do want one for when I travel anywhere, or if I'm staying overnight anywhere. At least I've got something with me. And again, I'll be getting a Switch, but sometimes you, like you say, you want some of the bigger games, the beefier games, the newer games.
You just want to continue the game you're currently playing, right?
Your own stuff, yeah. And of course, making the decision on a big handheld like a Steam Deck or a ROG or an Xbox handheld when that releases. It depends. It depends. I want to see what they're all doing. Like you say, there's the new ROG coming out soonish. You absolutely will have a new Steam Deck coming out, as they will do. They'll refine that and make a new, better one. And of course, the Xbox handheld when that eventually gets released, not the ROG version. But it'll be interesting to see how this one performs and if they do use the Xbox UI on it. So we'll see. And the pricing.
Yeah. And again, don't expect anything cheap.
No.
Again, $700 was the price of the original Ally, and it's gonna be at least again $700. That's why I'm considering not buying a Switch, because I know I would be playing my Ally as I do with my current one so much more often.
Or you're planning on maybe upgrading to a new Ally?
And then I would sell my current one and I would get the new one. So I'm absolutely interested in that thing. But we also need to factor in the fact that Steam is doing some really good stuff with their OS, and Lenovo is bringing out their handheld with the Steam OS running and so on. You have to factor that in as well. It really depends if they're gonna open that up to Game Pass support natively, because that's the real drawback of the Steam OS right now. I know people will come at me, you can absolutely install everything, but you need to jailbreak it and so on. nobody's doing that. It's like 0.001% of the users that are going through that pain. Yeah. And that's the biggest advantage that the LE has right now. I have Play Anywhere, yeah, going back and forth and between my console, and so I really hope that Xbox finds a way, and that this Windows Lite is really a Windows Lite and not just a new look of Windows, and you still have to deal with all the pain that is Windows, because they have the opportunity right now. Xbox has the opportunity to really revolutionize console OSs, you know? If you make a simple Windows that runs every PC game natively, and with that, the Steam games, the PC, Xbox, Game Pass games, and everything else, Epic Store, and good old games, and so on, it's just Windows, but without all the Windows pain. If you do that, and you can bring that OS then to the handheld, to the next Xbox console, you could license that out to every other third-party manufacturer. You really would have a golden thing on your hand. It's a really unique selling point, if it's good. Let's see, Dutch. Let us see. Let's stick with Xbox real quick. The Doom previews were out. Did you watch some of those?
I have not had a chance, no.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of previews. It's gonna be as awesome as everyone hopes it will be.
Yeah.
It's brutal, it's fast, it feels good, everyone's happy. So I was glad to see very good previews actually for Doom Eternal, and it's not that long.
I kind of expect no less, to be fair. Doom is what it says on the tin. It's one of those games where it is what it says on the tin. It's just no holds barred, action, gory, fun, ridiculous, over the top, metal.
True. And Doom the Dark Ages is going to hit all those checkboxes, right? Fantastic soundtrack, feels butter smooth. I mean, obviously, Tech Engine in its latest iteration. What is that then? It 8. Phenomenal engine, runs butter smooth, looks phenomenal, and the game itself gonna be a blast. Gonna be an absolute blast. But Dutch, let us already come to our community questions of the week. Each and every Wednesday, our community can write in and send us questions or topics. We put up posts on Blue Sky, on Twitter, on YouTube. We unfortunately cannot put up posts on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something. So if you guys want to write in, you have to DM us somewhere. Or whatever. We are not locking our questions behind a Patreon or any paid subscription. Everyone can write in. And the first question comes from Charles Wilson and says, Mario Kart will cost a whooping $90 in physical form and $80 in digital. Is the way free for GTA 6 now for $100 price point?
I think GTA will charge whatever they want to charge. I've mentioned if they charge $100, I won't be buying it at launch. The one thing about GTA is that it absolutely drop in price. You will find that on sale. Nintendo games, you will not.
that is true.
But will it pave the way for them? I don't think they care what anybody else does. I think they will just charge what they want to charge.
Agreed. I agree. However, I don't think it has anything to do with Nintendo. I could absolutely see them charge $100.
But as much as I think they absolutely could charge 100, and they would still sell millions of copies.
Yeah, I would be part of the problem.
They will. I still think they will charge your standard $80 or $70 or whatever it is, the normal at that point. And they will have an Ultimate Edition with shark cards for the online when the online becomes available, and that will be charged at 100. and you know how it goes. They always do this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, we got notification today that GTA 5 is going back onto Game Pass. So, of course, just in time for this year.
Yeah. I agree that they will. I could see them charging, not having like a standard edition that is at 80, and only have the deluxe edition that will give you like you said, shards for online and 5 days early access, which then is absolutely ridiculous because there is no standard release later.
Yeah.
But something like that. But we shall see. We shall see. The big bridge.
The thing as well for me is, it's with digital pre-orders now. There's absolutely 0 point. There's no point in digital pre-ordering because you can just on the day buy it and download it.
I mean, preload is a thing.
It is, but you can do that through Xbox.
Yeah, that is also true. That is also very true.
You can just remotely install a game, even if you don't own it, and it will have it preloaded.
Yeah.
So theoretically, you don't have to worry about that. You can just go GTA install 2, and it will install it, even if you don't own it. You just can't play it.
Yeah.
So Xbox owners, you're fine for that because you can theoretically just have the game installed, even if you don't own it.
Yeah.
You just can't play it until you buy it. So there's a likelihood I'll do that, and I'll just wait for sale, and then just when I want it, whoop, there we go.
Yeah.
It's already installed.
Yeah, but I see your point. Honestly, I still do pre-order digital. I do that for some reason for games that I'm excited for. But I see your point.
The only one to do that for is if there is like Xbox have started to do, and some people hate it, some people don't, is the early access
thing.
stuff. And that's because a lot of the time you get DLCs that come with it, like Indiana Jones, things like that. Sometimes
but then it's different. Like you get an extra benefit for doing it, right? Yeah, early access or DLC or I don't know. But I still do it also for other games.
Yeah, if the game, say I don't. If the game is just there, and there is no benefit to pre-ordering it early and digitally, I'll just buy it on the day.
Okay.
Usually, a lot of the time, I'll look on CD keys to see if there's any cheaper options before I order it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because sometimes you can get a few bucks off on TD keys, even on pre-order.
True.
You just do it that way.
Yeah. The Big Bridge writes in, says, "Hey there, Boxy and Wandering Dutch. Hope you have a splendid day and week ahead. Now my question. You are the great video game necromancer, one who can, with great difficulty, resurrect a fallen or neglected video game IP series. The spell of resurrection can only be uttered for 3 more times for games that desperately deserve a comeback from beyond the grave and a return to full glory. Which 3 neglected or failed video gaming IPs would you resurrect to its former glory?"
3.
3.
Yeah, well, I know 1, but I'm going to have a think of the other 2 before I do this.
So, Warcraft. I loved Warcraft 1, 2, 3. And then they stopped making it because World of Warcraft came out. I would resurrect that. I would also resurrect Pitfall.
Okay.
Loved me some Pitfall, and nobody's talking about it, but that series definitely needs to come back. And now I have to think really good about the third one.
One of mine is Golden Sun.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Bring that back. That was like a Nintendo. I honestly don't understand why Nintendo. That was their own specific Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. Golden Sun is a really good one.
Yeah, and it was brilliant.
Dustin in the chat says Skies of Arcadia MDK. What is MDK? I don't know what MDK is. And Earthworm Jim. Oh, Earthworm Jim is also.
Earthworm Jim, yeah. Earthworm Jim. I had one in my head and it's disappeared. Oh, a PC game ages ago. It wasn't even big, but I liked the game, and I would love to see a sequel to it. It was called Heart of Darkness.
Oh.
Remember that game?
I remember that game. Yeah.
It loses his dog, has to go into the underworld to retrieve him. It was difficult as hell.
Mm-hmm.
You died
I've never finished that game. You died a lot in that game. Games were hard back then. Dude, games were so hard at the time. Recently, I went back and played Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Have you ever played? Yeah. Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, balls hard. Even with on the emulator, now can save everywhere, and even with the good stuff like that game brutally difficult. And a couple of months ago, my mom was telling me she found my super old Game Boy, and it actually still works. That's why I have a Game Boy now again, by the way. And I played Super Mario Land on that. Even that was brutally difficult, dude. I mean, games were super short at the time, and I think that was why they were so challenging. But yeah, games have been hard. We are super spoiled with easy games these days.
Absolutely.
Even games like Elden Ring feel like kindergarten when you compare that to a Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Dude.
Third and final game. God, it's difficult, isn't it? It is difficult. You know what it is? For shits and giggles, I'm going to say Echo the Dolphin.
Oh.
Bring back Echo.
Yeah. That's cool.
When Sega was at its absolute best, and you had Sonic and Echo the Dolphin.
I'm gonna steal Skies of Arcadia from Dustin Lambert. My favorite Dreamcast game that was so good. And we've never seen a...
Oh yeah, the original Battletoads with the thing that was a pain in the arse as well. That was ultra difficult.
And Desi in the chat says Ghouls and Ghosts isn't hard.
Yeah, okay.
He's trolling again. Yeah. Had too much pineapple pizza, I can tell.
He's high on pineapple.
There we go. We figured it out. Rave Demos writes in and asks this. Boxy and Dutch, the day is approaching when you'll have the option to purchase games directly from Xbox, Steam, or Good Old Games on your Xbox gaming device, similar to how it works on a PC today. Firstly, with multiple solutions to address the long-standing third-party problem, what factors will influence your decision? Secondly, could it be that a new third-party problem lies not with getting access to your games on different devices, but in deciding which storefront to buy from?
No, not for me. Because
it's a good question.
Boxy will be different because you don't care about achievements.
Yeah, I truly do not care.
Yeah, kind of. For me, I do and I don't. I like collecting achievements or trophies and things like that. It's just an additional challenge that goes alongside the game. So it doesn't really... It's like I like that additional thing. And yes, you get achievements through Steam, but it's not quite the same as the Xbox achievement thing. So it wouldn't really affect my decision-making abilities. However, I do have Steam because I have a PC, and I do have games on Steam because I have that. So if there's any Steam games that I like that aren't on Xbox, then I'll buy those. And of course, at least then I'll be able to use it on the handheld or on the Xbox. Hallelujah. And there are quite a few games that are on Steam that aren't on console that I can play. So that would be good. But ultimately, the vast majority of my third-party games or my Xbox games, I'll be buying on the Xbox store. So that I can use them on the plate anyway, whether that be on console, on PC, or on handheld.
Yeah.
Whereas,
I mean, if you have that option available on all Xbox devices, the next Xbox console runs Steam. Then what would make you? What's the factor where then you have cross save and cross progression anyway? Is it truly the achievements that make you?
I would also get at the same time. So it would be achievements, and then you also get the reward points for buying games. Then you also get money off more games going forwards. But then you also, like I say, you have the cross saving ability. Yes, you have DRM, but you probably have a little bit more, let's say, compatibility with cross platform play. If you bought the Steam version, the vast majority will think you're playing on PC, and a lot of people turn off PC cross platform play. So playing online games becomes more of a pain on the arse. Because then you'll only play against PC players. And of course, if you're on a handheld, you don't want that. If you're on a console, you don't want that. For the vast majority of games, I'd still purchase them on the Xbox platform. And those games that I own on Steam and I want to play via Steam, or if there's games on Steam that aren't on Xbox, I'll buy those and I can play those across any platform. But yeah, for me, that's the deal.
It wouldn't be as easy for me, to be honest.
You're all based on price, I would imagine.
Obviously, if you now assuming, of course, you have true storefront support on the console. You can buy the game on the Xbox storefront and also play it on PC, and you can buy it on Steam. You can play it on the Xbox console or on PC, and so on. If this truly is that seamless and works, I mean, price, obviously, I would just buy the game wherever it's cheaper or does have the better version. We have seen that also with a couple of games. Just remember Ninja Gaiden 2, the remake that came out in earlier this year, ran better on the Steam version. So if you see something like that happen, that would be a deciding factor for me. But
it did. But did it run poorly enough for me to give a shit? No.
Yeah. If I can get the same price but better version, obviously I would choose the better version. Obviously.
But does it necessarily mean that version, either the Steam version or the Xbox version, running on the Xbox would be any different?
Yeah, that was the case. Right? So, what's the deciding factor to choose that? And then the big question comes in Dutch. The big question is, how long will the Xbox store then truly survive?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, if you have the Xbox store and Steam on your console, on your Xbox handheld, and on PC, who would buy games on the Xbox store? Everyone would then buy games outside of the games that are in Game Pass, obviously. Talking really the purchase. Games are cheaper usually on Steam. Steam isn't going anywhere, right?
It depends, because another factor we have to think about here is how many people who do not have a Steam account and have console currently would set up a Steam account for the purposes of this.
Yeah, that's...
Like another account. Do I really want to start another account?
I get that it's...
There's a couple.
But then you know, for me personally, my library is fractured anyway. Obviously, I have my biggest library I do have on Xbox, but I do have fairly big Steam library. I do have a PlayStation library. I have a Nintendo library. I'm already used to fragmented libraries.
Yeah.
But of course, and of course that could also be a deciding factor if I think about it, that I just say, okay, if I buy everything now all the time on Steam, I just have this one thing and I can take that across all devices and everywhere and then just be done with fragmented libraries, outside of my PlayStation library, of course, then. But you know what I mean?
Nintendo library.
It is a very good question. How will we handle that if you really have true support? Yeah. But it's talk of the future, Dutch. And we will probably revisit that topic once it is a thing. But for now, we're gonna come to an end of this week's episode of the World of Gaming. I want to say a big thank you to our awesome community, everyone who joined us here live today in the chat. Shout out to you guys. Super appreciate that. Big shout out, of course, to the channel members that do support the channel and the show. We appreciate that support. A big thank you to the listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcast, if you made it to the end. We appreciate you as well, wherever you're listening to the World of Gaming. We just love that we have a small part in this community to bring people together to talk about video games. So we appreciate that. And Dutch, let everyone know where they can find you, what you've coming up.
Indeed. You can find me everywhere at Wondering Dutch or Wondering Dutch X, depending on where the platform is. I don't have much coming up. I am going hiking this weekend, so the likelihood is you will find a new hiking vlog Sunday evening. Probably by the time I get back and get it all edited and uploaded. Maybe it's Monday when it comes out. But yes, doing a nice big hike on the weekend. So I'll be uploading that. And the weather is looking glorious. It has been glorious all week. It's been lovely and sunny. With no clouds, and it's set to stay the same all weekend. So I am so thankful for that. Starting to get into the good weather season now, so hallelujah. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
Sweet, that sounds lovely. I'm gonna watch the Minecraft movie on the weekend. Gonna go with the kids on the biggest IMAX screen in the world. I had to say it again, Dutch. I had to say it again. But yeah, other than that, I'll be playing Assassin's Creed Shadows like crazy. I just cannot put the controller down with that game. And yeah, then we will be back next week for the latest episode of the World of Gaming. So the weekend is near, gamers. We do hope you enjoy your games, whatever you're playing. Hope you have a great weekend, and we hope to see you back next week on the World of Gaming. And don't forget to game on.